A bank is often one of the first structures in a city or town, and one of the most prominent. Some people might not measure the value of archives to a community in dollars, but in history. The region of Peel Archives has an active schools program, and these Brampton students are getting a picture of their hometown from a time before they were born.
Our story date is March 16, 1948, and the title, Disaster. Disaster in the form of thousands of tons of raging water and rampant blocks of ice. Disaster which the town had known in varying degrees on past occasions. Reckon in your mind as you watch these scenes, not only the actual dollar damage, but the potential health danger, the loss of utilities, the sewage problem, the personal inconvenience of the moment.
This is a tropical area over here.
So that's where it's from.
Which would mean that, I guess maybe this would be more or less.
This is Brampton here.
They had their village right about here. You can see on that map on the wall a little better where the Indian village was. So at the time that the whole of Toronto Township...
We began this program about 3 years ago as a response to a request from a teacher who had a large class that he couldn't bring into the archives due to distance and wanted me to photocopy archival documents for him to use. And we had nothing available. We did it at that time for him. But realized that in doing that, we'd created a resource that perhaps could be used again and again. At the same time, we were finding that being in this building, which has a fairly high profile in the community, teachers were also quite interested in bringing their children in to have a look around. So we realized that we had to have something here as well.
Yeah, that's true. Think also about things like rabies. I mean, did people take their dogs to veterinarians back then? No.
They're shown copies and originals from the collection, and it's done in a chronological basis, so they're learning a little bit about the history of Peel at the same time as they're learning what an archives is all about.
I'm trying to find out where I live.
Or steel.
Where you live, you won't find it.
It's very similar to the terminal.
There's sort of an ooh, ah when you tell them it's 160 years old, and they don't get that from a copy. So I think that's why it's important that they can look at originals. They're very interested in knowing what we've done to help protect the documents and why certain documents have tears or rips and what we've done to help that. They're interested in the nuts and bolts of it. Certainly anything that they can read themselves, such as letters and diaries where you're getting a first-hand account from someone of what it was like to be alive at that time.
What does that say? In Creek? Okay, in Owl Creek. Friend as you have been.
We have a particular journal we use a lot, and the story in it is about a 14-year-old boy who was a pioneer, son of a pioneer, and the family was heading up into Albion Township, and Joseph tells the tale through a 14-year-old's eyes of what that trip was like. And that's a very unique point of view that they don't get very often. Certainly they don't get through their textbooks.
This is the one on the flooding.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, money is always fascinating. They're always thrilled to know what things cost, and they think if only they could go back with their allowance, you know, and they'd be able to clean up.
Brampton kids exploring records of the past follow a trail they connect with their present day. So do city administrators back in Windsor, with important results for development plans.
The background to the waterfront is that for 70 or 80 years the city had wanted to acquire and develop the sea and waterfront lands totaling about 35 acres. We finally found out in 1982 that yes, we could get them, and in 1983 a plan was prepared showing how the lands could be developed.
The city administrator sent us a memo asking us to deal with a request that had come in from a local Windsorite detailing a cholera epidemic that had broken out in Windsor in 1854. It appears that a number of Scandinavian immigrants had been coming through on their way to the United States. During the time of their train ride on the Great Western Railway had contracted cholera. When they arrived here, some were dead, some were dying, they were hospitalized. But the point was, the city was then faced with the notion of a cemetery on the sea and riverfront lands which were slated